Hey guys, welcome to the third video of my not so frequently asked question answer videos for job applications. Woo. So for the third video, I am talking about what to do when you have multiple good options. So maybe some of you are thinking, oh, this is so annoying. People with options are really annoying. If you get multiple yeses from people, then you're lucky and you have no problems. But I just have to say that you don't need to be so negative about people who are succeeding in their lives. Unless that person is a jerk, then you can be judgmental towards them. And at the same time, having options is never as easy and stress-free as people might imagine. And that is because every job has a different timeline. What do you mean by timeline, you might be asking? Well, I will tell you. Now let's say, for example, that you applied to job 1 and job 2. And you like both of the jobs. They're both really great opportunities, but you kind of like job 2 better. It's closer to where you live, it's higher pay, it has more room for promotions and things like that. You prefer job 2 a little, but you like them both. So you apply to both of them, and then job 1 gets back to you and they say, yeah, we like you, we want to hire you. Tell us your final decision in 2 weeks. And you think, great, job 1 hired me. Now I just have to wait until I get a response from job 2, and then I can figure out then. And then, a couple days go by, job 2, haven't heard anything. A couple more days go by, oh, it's been a week. Job 2, haven't heard anything. It's a week and a half and you haven't heard anything, and eventually it gets to that 2-week mark and job 1 is saying, hello, where's your response? If you don't respond, then we're going to give the position to someone else. And now you're just stuck in a really horrible situation, because if you really like job 2, then you could say no to job 1 because you think you're going to be accepted into job 2, but then maybe you'll just get denied from job 2 and then you'll be jobless, and then lots of stress happens. This is currently happening to myself, and it has also happened to one of my close friends, and I wouldn't be very surprised if it happened to any of you guys either. Okay, so how to avoid this? You can't really avoid it. What I would suggest is that when you're going onto all these application sites is that you just do a little research and try to figure out what the timeline is in the first place. So knowing the timeline of one job and knowing the timeline of another job isn't going to necessarily save you from having to make that tough decision, but it will inform you that maybe you will have to make that tough decision. And then while you're in the waiting period, then you can kind of talk about it with other people and weigh out the pros and cons and say, okay, if I am in that situation, then this is what I think I'm going to do. Another thing to do, if those websites don't say anything about the timeline, is that if you're lucky enough to get an interview, then you could ask it in the interview. Just at the end, when they ask you if you have any questions, do regular questions for that specific job, and then at the end say, oh, there are lots of other opportunities that are reaching out to me. Can you tell me when I would know of your answer so that I can plan accordingly? Another thing that you might consider doing is following up. Just emailing the hiring manager, calling them and asking, hey, again, many opportunities reaching out to me. Do you know when I'm going to hear back from you? Following up can be really weird though, because sometimes there are certain companies that hate people who call them and they hate people who email them. So if there is something on the application page that says in big bold letters, don't call us, we'll contact you, then you should do what the application says and not contact them. Following up in a lot of cases can be really good, and it will show that you're interested for the position and you're enthusiastic about it. But at the same time, it kind of just depends company to company, job to job, because sometimes you can follow up and the person will get really pissed off that you are taking up their time by this phone call, and then that will totally just mark you down points in the application phase. Not like that happened to me or anything. Okay, but let's say that you applied to a position and you have no idea what their timeline is, and one of the other jobs has gotten back to you. What do? I think in situations like these, it's really the best to just be practical about it and just take the first opportunity that falls into your lap. Again, you have to kind of consider all of these on a case-by-case basis, but I think that if you have a really great opportunity that has been presented to you and has accepted you, then you should take it. I think even if you had a recommendation, even if you had an interview, even if you personally felt 99.9% sure that you were going to get job 2, then you should still not say no to job 1 before you know job 2's decision. Because I just think that hiring scenarios are very weird, and you can't really ever say for sure that you're going to get hired by this one person. And you also have to think of it like, what is the worst that could happen if I said no to job 1? Well, the worst that could happen is that I would get denied from job 2 as well, and then I would have no job, and that would be really horrible. But the worst that could happen if I said yes to job 1 is that job 2 would accept me and I would have to say no to job 2, which I kind of preferred. At least in that situation, you still have a job and hopefully it's a good job. When you're in a hiring position, you are in a position to bargain with the person that is trying to hire you. You could tell job 1, oh, there's this other job that came up, but I'll promise you to give you a month of my help and I'll try to do my best on this project. And then you can talk to job 2 and say, hey, I'm trying to finish up my commitment with this last thing, and then I can jump on board with you 100%. Again, when you're in a hiring position, that means that the person who is trying to hire you wants to hire you. So you kind of have a little more freedom to negotiate in that case than you would if you were just still in the interview phase. So the TLDR of this whole thing is that choosing between 2 options is a lot harder and more stressful than you may think it would be. And that's because most jobs have different timelines and they respond at whole different times. It's not like college applications. Real life is a lot more difficult. So my advice would be that before you even apply to any of these things, kind of check whose timeline is going which way so that you can kind of plan for this kind of thing. And then if you do get accepted to one job before another job responds, then wait it out until the response deadline, and if you haven't heard anything back from the other job, I would just accept the first job that you get. Again, in real life, when you're not having any funds come from loans from the government or loans from your school or money from your parents, it's probably best to think in practical terms. I would definitely not rely on my own personal intuition of whether or not I'm going to get the better job or not, because I am biased towards myself even though I hate myself. But if you are in the fortunate situation where somehow all of the things that you apply to have the same deadline and they all get back to you around the same time and you have time to make those decisions between 2 jobs, then I would just make a pros and cons list, talk to people, think about what you want to do in the future, and then make your decision from there. Okay, I'm gonna go, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the last day of Veda, and tomorrow's the NFL draft, in case anyone was wondering. Okay, bye!